Kakadosh, we're going to be continuing with, first of all, Seder Hadorot, which we're going to explain what happens, again, according to the years in the chronology of whether it was with Abraham, Sarah, Yitzchak, and then we're going to continue with that Sekenim Balei Tosafot, explanation on the parasha of Parashat Haye Sarah from the Tosafot, from the commentators of the Tosafot. So it says here like this, Sarah meta bat kuf kav zayin. So Sarah Imenu passed away when she was 127 years old. Automatically, that makes that Abraham Avinu is how old? 137. And how old was Yitzchak? 37. Yeah, very simple. Remember that Abraham Avinu was 100 years older than Yitzchak, 10 years older than Sarah. So if Sarah dies at 127, he's 137, and Yitzchak is 37. Very simple. Okay? Now it says over here, Vayikne Abraham HaMe'ara v'yichtov b'shtar v'yad arba edim. So it says here, Abraham Avinu, he purchased the Me'ara, the cave, and he wrote it in a document. So this is to do with what we spoke about, I think it was actually this morning, right? That he actually wrote it in document. That means it was documented, the deeds and everything, he wrote it down. Okay, and there were 4 edim. Yeah, who were the 4 witnesses? Amigol ben Avishua Hachiti, Alichosen ben Ashuna Shachivi, Avdum ben Ahira Hagomri, Ve'agdil ben Avira Shatzidoni. Okay, 4 witnesses. I don't know them. You don't know them. It's all okay. Okay, very good. Yeah. Now it says, "Vayasem sever mikneh be'otzrotav." So he put it in his storage places. Vayikbor et Sarah bechavod, and he buried Sarah with a lot of honor. Kikivrat milachim, like the burials of kings. Yeah, it says over here, "Bivgadim tovim v'yafim ad meol," with very beautiful, incredible clothing. Vayusham al mitata, right? Then there was by her bedside there was Shem ben Noach ve'Ever beno. Yeah, so it says over here it was Shem and Ever. Okay, here there's a whole question exactly how could that be to do with Ever, right? Because Ever was the son of Shelach, Rapasha ben Shem. Okay, now it says Vavimelech ve'aner eshkelo mamre chol godei haaretz. Everybody holchim acharei mita. Everybody was going after the coffin of Sarah Imenu. Okay, fine. Now it says over here, Chevron is Kiryat Arba. Sham Echal Abraham, that's the Echal Abraham. Binyan Avadim Gdolim, a beautiful building of stones. Arko Esrim u'shmonei ama, 28 ama. Vayishmaelim dolkim betocho nerot. And the Arabs, they come and they lighten it, candles. V'tachtav me'arat ha'machpelah shenikvarim, and underneath is me'arat ha'machpelah, which is buried there. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, v'Leah. Right? V'yarati letocho 15 madregot mibachutz. I went inside of it 15 steps. Uvati la me'ara rechava. I came to a very big me'ara, right, very wide cave. Ubetoch me'ara, and within the me'ara, sha'ar, right, be'even ve'me'ara kemo even chalul. It's like that there's a stone which is hollow. Velashar munachim chatichot barzel gedolot, and there's pieces of iron, v'avot me'ol, very thick. Umisham yotze ruach gadol. There's a lot of wind. V'yefshar lesovlo rega, you can't. V'yefshar likanes, you can't even go with the candles. O esh. Ve'evanti she'avot kvurim sham. So he says, obviously the avot HaKadoshim are buried there. That's why you weren't able to go in even with the candles. There was a famous story also of somebody that went down Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Yeah, underneath the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, and they went into the caves. Like I'm saying, there's a lot of stories like that. Fine. Vayavru yemei bechita. So it passed the days of her crying. Vayishlach Abraham et Yitzchak beno bet Shem va'ever lilmot darkei Hashem. Yashav sham 3 shanim. So according to the Seder Hadorot, Yitzchak Avinu was at the burial of his mother. It was only after that they passed the time of her Avelut that he sent him off to the yeshiva of Shem va'ever, and he was there for 3 years, right? That's what he did, right? But according to other opinions, if you remember, right, I think it was the Yonatan ben Uziel, he was one that said that he wasn't there at the funeral because he was at the yeshiva already of Shem va'ever, which means right away he sent him off because of the Ayin Hara. I think that was the Datzakin Balatosot last week, no? That he wasn't there because he sent them off straight away. It was Vayeshav ve'Yitzchak echan alach shalchu balayla mipnei Ayin Hara. Right? He sent them off in the middle of the night. Yeah, because of the Ayin Hara. So according to some opinions, he was actually there. According to the other opinions, he wasn't there. He wasn't at the burial of his mother. Okay? Then it says, right? Vayakov Avraham v'avadav yashuvu be'eras shava el betam. So they went back to their house. Right? Now remember, their house was in Beersheba. It wasn't in Hebron. Why was it in Hebron? Because she went looking for him. So she went to Hebron to look for him, and that's where she passed away. You remember? That's what we said. So that's why, but really, Be'emet, they weren't living in Hebron, right? So it was just Mina Shamayim that it happened to be there, but really, Be'emet, he was living in Beersheba. He saw Avimelech passed away. Ben Kuf Tzadik Gimel Shana. He was 193 years old. Avimelech. Okay. Then it says Vayelech Avram Menashav La'aretz L'Eretz Nachamu Bet Avimelech. He went and he comforted them. So they took Nimlach his son, and he was 12 years old, and they put him instead of his son, and they called him also Avimelech, just like his father. So this concept of calling, whether it's Paro, no matter what your name is always Paro, or so, and no matter what the name was, it's always Avimelech. Exact same thing. Yes, exactly. So that Avimelech was obviously the son of this one. Then it says, Lot met bayamim ahem. It's not written when Lot died. Think about it. Lot disappeared after that. Did you ever hear about Lot afterwards? It was Lot and his daughters, and that's it. You finished. Right? When was the next time he was mentioned? So it says, Lot died. Lamet tet lechaye Yitzchak. 39 years into Yitzchak's life. Okay, so Yitzchak was 39 when Lot, his uncle, passed away. Okay? So it says, Vayukol yemei Lot. So how old did Lot live? Kuf mem bet shana. 142 years. Yeah, so Lot lived for 142 years, which means that he lived longer than his sister Sarai, obviously. Because Sarai only lived till 127, right? And Lot was 142. If I remember correctly, we said that Lot was older than Sarai, correct? No? Do you guys remember? Because we mentioned that it says here, Chayenuach metushelach. This is Nimrod. Avraham. Terach nolad. Here it just says that he had Vahi Terach ben Lamed Chet shanim, vayoled et Haran ve'et Nachor. Okay? And then he had Avraham. Now, where's it written? This is the story of Avraham. Here it is. Haran was 42 when he gave birth to Sarai. He was 42, but it doesn't say. Here it is. Haran lekach isha ben Lamed Chet shanim. ובבראשית רבה סופר הרן הוליד לשש שנים, ותלה לו את לוט, ואחר כך את מילכה ואחר כך שרי. והיה הרן בן מ"ב בליטו את שרה. Of course. That's what we said. That's what we spoke about on Shabbat. You remember we said that Sarai had three names. Yiska, right? And then it was Sarai and then Sarah. So it says that Haran was the father of Yiska and Milka. Milka was the one that got married to Nachor. Now remember, Nachor was the grandfather and the grandson. Remember that, because Nachor was the father of Terach and the son of Terach. Okay, look in the parasha. It's the father of Terach and the son of Terach. So therefore, Nachor took his niece, Milka, and Avraham took his niece, Yiska, which was Sarai. Okay, so here it says that Haran, right, had Lot, right, at when he was Haran lakach isha ben lamed tet shana, when he was 39. So it says, and then he had Lot, and then afterwards Milka, and then afterwards Yiska, which was Sarai. Okay, so right, then it says over here that Haran. So therefore, so obviously he was older. The question is how many years older? I don't know. If he was 42 when he had Sarah, and he was 39 when he got married. Well, Haran lakach isha ben, when he was 39. Even though the Bereshit Rabbah says no, that he was 6 when he got married. So I don't know. But the minimum he was 3 or 4 years older than Sarai. Minimum. Okay? Fine. So now it says over here, so what happens? So Lot dies. Now it says over here, okay, now Banav, The children of Lot, Bechor is Moab, and then it's Berami, which is Ammon. Lachu nashav meretz Canaan. They got married to Canaanim. Okay, Bnei Moab ar mevan trisan kanvi lemavot leMoab. Bnei Berami idram osun, different names. Okay, different people, different generations. Okay, fine. Next, Nahor, the son of Terach, died when he was 40. When Yitzchak was 40 years old, and he lived 172 years, and he was buried in Haran. So look how many uncles are passing away. Here you have the uncle, right? His uncle Lot, but then he had the uncle, right, which was Nahor, died one year later. Okay, that means Yitzchak had 3 years in a row, right? When he was 37, his mother passed away. 39, his uncle passed away. 40, the other uncle passed away. Okay, so then it says over here, okay, Vayishlach Avram et Eliezer, so that's when he sent Eliezer to take a wife for Yitzchak. Okay, Vahi belechtam, they're on the way, Vayishlach Avram bet Shem v'Eved, lavi et Yitzchak, Eliezer b'Charana, so he went to bring back Yitzchak, and he sends Eliezer from Harana. Mikriyat Arba ad Haran, malach Yudzayin Yamim. It takes 17 days to go from Kiryat Arba until Haran. Uveshlosh sha'ot ba leCharan. It took him 3 hours. Yeah, so a 17-day trip, 3 hours. Amal, no? You see, they also had fast planes in the olden days. Yeah, 3 hours, and so it didn't take 17 days. Shneimar v'avo hayom el ayin. I came today in the ayin. Right? Eliezer, look at this week's parasha. He says, I came today on the springs. He says, Yishkim baboker. He woke up in the morning. Verah hamalach omed umamtin. He saw the angel waiting for him. Ve'amar, and he says, Al te'achru oti. ובשביל שלא יתייחד העבד עם הנערה בלילה, קפצה הארץ. And in order that there shouldn't be yichud of the servant with the na'ara in the nighttime, it was קפצה הארץ. בשש שעות ביום יצא העבד מחרן, ובשלוש שעות בא לחברון, לעת ערב. And then ויצא יצחק להתפלל תפילה מנחת ערב. So ממש the same day, he traveled that entire distance. Yeah, we're talking about when he came back. Yeah, not on the way there, when he came back. Now it says this is actually Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, Perek Zayin, so we're learning in the Shabbat afternoons. Okay, fine. Then it says over here, Vayitnu et Rivka vehi bat 10 shanim. So Rivka was 10 years old. Vayishalechu et Devorah minikta bat utz, right? And they sent Devorah minikta bat utz vayitnu lo kesef v'zahav avadim u'shvacho vayitzchak ben 40 bekachto et Rivka, right? So he was 40 years old, 3 years after Mitat Sarah. That's when he got married. Okay. So here it does bring down the Yalkut Resh Parashat Toldot that she was 3 years old, right? That Rivka was 3 years old and 3 days or whatever it is, right? You remember why they bring down this concept of 3 years old. Rashi, why? Because if you remember, it says that he was 40 years old when he got married and he was 60, right? When he was going to get divorced, Ki'ilu. What does that mean? Because if you remember, for 3 years old, you can't become pregnant until she becomes already 12. So it was a minimum of 10 years. And it was another 10 years that you have to wait 10 years if your wife does not become pregnant. And then you have the heter to get divorced because of Pirya V'Rivya, because of procreating. So for only when he was 60 years old, that's when he was praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because if not, he would have to actually abandon her. Right? He would have to leave her. Even though there was a famous question, why didn't Avraham Avinu do that to Sarai? And he was how many years married? 75. Yeah, it was until 100. 25 till 100, 75 years married, and they didn't have a child. Right? So, okay, you're going to say that he had Ishmael. But even Ishmael was only 13 years before. You understand? Exactly. So that's what they answer about Eretz Yisrael, that there's a zechut of Eretz Yisrael. Fine. But according to this one, it says that she was 10 years old when she got married, Rivka. Okay? Then it says here that a lot of things also depends on how many years was Yitzchak when there was Akedat Yitzchak. Some people say that it was 26 years old, right? Some people say it was 37. So, okay, fine. Next. Now, how many years did she live? According to one opinion here, it says that she lived 121 years, Rivka. Okay, so 20 years she was barren. And then what happened was that so she gave birth at the age of 23. Yaakov was 84 when he got married. So that's 23 and 84 is 107. And then afterwards, he worked for 7 years for Rachel and then 6 years for the Tzon. So that's 120. Right, 120 and a half. And then he was Ikev Baderech, and then that's when he passed away. So according to this calculation, it comes out that Rivka lived till 121 years old. Okay, that's Rivka, but it's not actually written anywhere. Okay? Fine. if she was actually 14 at the time, so then she lived until 133. Okay, fine. Then Eliezer of Abraham, because he did the chesed to Yitzchak, so he was granted freedom. He was liberated. Right? He was set free. So he became a melech. Shuvu Og melech Bashan. Right? Because it says that's Og. Yeah, Eliezer. So it says Og Eliezer upam achad gar bo Avram mirato naflu mimenu shinav. So his teeth fell out. V'asa Avram mitat shen v'ya yashen sham. Some people say, okay, fine. Umin entonol Avram, it was Nimrod that we already did see that he gave him to Nimrod. Okay. So it says here he was also zochet to go into Gan Eden alive. Do me a favor, can you open it up? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, he was zochet to go into Gan Eden alive. Yeah, Eliezer Abraham, it's brought down, and this is always also, I think it's Avodah Rabbi Natan also as well, that there were a few people that they were zochet to go into Gan Eden alive. And one of them is Eliezer Abraham. Okay? Fine. Ba'etahi. It was during that time, Avraham ben Kufmem, when Avraham Avinu was 140 years old. So remember, 137 was when Sarah died. So at 140 years old, that's when he went and he took another wife. Which, if you realize, it comes out that the same year that Yitzchak got married was when he took another wife. That means first he got his son married. Huh? Yeah, he basically got his son married. Now his son's married. Now I could get married again. That's what he did. Which is very interesting, which means Mamash, that's exactly what he did. He went and he got married, right? Right? And that's exactly what he did. He got married right after Yitzchak getting married. So it says here, he took a woman that her name was Keturah, Meretz Kenan. Vatele Zimran, Yokshan, Medan, Midian, Yishbak, Veshuach ben Zimran, Avien, right, Molich Miriam, Bnei Yokshan, Sheva Udadan, Bnei Medan, Amida, Yov, Gochi, Elisha, Kutach, Bnei Midian, Efa, Vaev, Yochanoch, Avida, El Da'a, or El Do'a. Right, Uvnei Yishbak Mekiri b'Yodev Tatur b'nei Shuach had different names. Okay, then it says Uvnei B'Dan ben Avraham Anchul Mizrach leReskush Vitzu Bika Gedola Beretz Hakedem v'Yishuvu Ba. Fine. Now it says over here, Ve'ele Toldot Yishmael ben Avraham me'Agar v'Yikach Yishmael Nisha me'Eretz Mitzrayim v'Shma Riba Hi Meriva v'Atel Nevayot v'Kedar v'Adbeel Mivsam v'Semat Achotam. But then he divorced her. You remember? He divorced. Right? Ishmael got divorced from his first wife. Right? So what happened? She went back to Mitzrayim. Then he took from Canaan. And her name was Ushma Malchut. Her name was Malchut. The name of the wife, Ishmael's second wife. That was, maybe you're right. Ushma Malchut. No, maybe the first one was Fatima. No? Ushma Riba. So maybe you're right then. Hold on 1 second.
Riba is the first one.
Yeah, Riba is the first one. Riba is the first one. 1 second. Let's see, maybe you're right. Canaan. Here it is. So the first one, yeah, the first one was Meriva. So that's the first one. Yeah, the Egyptian. Then it says, Vayikach Isha Acheret. No, so here, it was in brackets. It's a Midrash Yalkut. Mi bet aviha ufatima shema. Midrash Yalkut. But it's not actually written in here. So according to this one, that's from a Yalkut, a Midrash Yalkut. This is another explanation. It says that her name was Malchut. Interesting. Okay, it's not actually written here, the name. He just said he took another wife. Okay, so here it says the name was Malchut. Vatelem Nishma, Duma, Masach, Hadad, the different names. Okay, fine. And then it just says, all just names. Then Bimei Yitzchak, Itchilu Limloch Melachim al I Candia. What's that? On an island. Candia. Candia? Canada? I don't know. I have no idea. It says here Candia. Biyamav, during his days, right, Isha Achat Shema Vista, her name was Vista, she started making houses of women, right, virgins that they never got married. Yeah, rak mishartot deloka. Nuns. The nuns came from here. They were mishartot to the God. They were in charge of they used to serve God. This is during the days of Bimei Yitzchak, during the days of Yitzchak. This is no, nothing to do with Ishmael. We stopped with Ishmael. During the days of Yitzchak, this is what they started doing. They started having kings over Kandia. I don't know what this place is. And then it says that they started doing these things. Vishachat Shma Mandiva. Her name was Mandiva. She's found the first things about doing, for like a wool and things like that. And making oil. And how do they make it to do with barzel, to make with metals, to make wars, right? And also they started finding out how to trap, whether it's, birds and fishes, and to take it from different things, right? And they started serving the star, which is called Jupiter. That's when they started serving the stars. And then it just says that in the 59th year of Yitzchak, Rivka was still a karas, so she told Yitzchak to pray for her, just like Avram prayed for Sarah. So they went to Eretz Moriah, they went to Harabait to pray there. Etalu Hashem, and then that's next week's parasha. This is already Toledot. Okay? Which one? Har Moriah? Rivka. They went to Har Moriah. Yeah. Not the Kotel, the Harabait, the place of the Bet HaMikdash. Fine, so we're going to start with that's a Kerim Balei Tosafot on Parashat Haye Sarah.